Hello, inventors and entrepreneurs. My name is Courtney Laschkewitsch. I'm the managing director here at Inventors Groups of America, and welcome to Inventors Online. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us today for our next Inventors Online. If you are new at all, go ahead and flash your hands in front of the screen. Excellent. Nice to meet you, Gary. Okay, we got a couple people. Cyrus, Leopoldo, excellent. Welcome, welcome. For those of you who are new here, IGA was founded in 2017 by Stephen Key and Andrew Krauss to teach individuals how to best commercialize their product ideas, as well as strengthen and support inventor groups throughout the nation. We have a directory on our website of local and regional inventor groups whom we meet with every month. And if you are located near one, we would highly encourage you to join. We'd love to hear where you're from and what your name is right now. Go on over state or country you live in into the chat. Let's open up that chat box on the bottom right hand corner and please let us know. Of course, please do not disclose anything that is confidential and is not already publicly available. Our meeting is being recorded and will be harnessed on our website and YouTube channel soon after. Andrew, would you like to go ahead and start us off?
Well, we had a little surprise. I see Cynthia wrote, "Oh yes, hi to the other WIT members." So Mary Kay was going to be speaking to us from Women in Toys, and she had a very last-minute family emergency. So Courtney's going to step in. She's got an incredible presentation today. I just want to say thank you to Courtney for stepping up and just, this is a presentation you've done before, right? So, something you're familiar with. It's really good. And I just said, his show must go on. So Courtney is the managing director of IGA, and then she's also a coach at our other business, InventRight, where we coach and mentor inventors, and she's amazing. She's licensed about 7 products. So she is a good person to be sharing with you tips and strategies for upping your game with licensing your products. So yeah, we did change the title up on you. Got quite a few people here. I think you're going to really enjoy Courtney and what she has to share. And I probably won't be able to help myself, Courtney. I'll jump in and ask some questions. And you guys should ask questions too. So open up the chat down below and type in some questions as Courtney is speaking. I'll help her out. And if I see some stuff that's on topic, I'll ask her. If we get time, she's got a lot to cover, but we'll try to get to some questions too. And again, I'm sorry that Mary Kay from Women in Toys couldn't attend, but she had a family emergency just very shortly before this. And we just scrambled to get something together, but I think it's going to rock, and Courtney's amazing. So go for it, Courtney.
All right. Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate it. All right, here we go. Pitching tips and strategies that will up your chances of licensing success. So a little bit about my story. I started getting into this field of licensing and inventing when I was 20. When I was pitching pretty hard, at the 50 no mark, I got a contract, super stoked with my very first product I was trying to license. And the contract fell through after getting 50 no's and hoping I would get a licensing deal at the 20th or 30th no. It hurt. I was super stoked that I finally made it, and I'm, good to go. About 6 months, maybe 6 to 8 months in, I got that contract. They ended up, we had the contract, it was an awesome contract, was going to sign it, and last minute they changed their mind. That was quite painful, but I continued to persist as being an inventor should, and continued to move forward. It ended up taking a total of 2 years and 81 painful real no's, which we'll get into later today, to get my first product license. I now have 7 products licensed, the keyboard desk being the very first one. For those of you who can see me on the top right-hand corner of your screen, this is my very first product I licensed. It is literally a piece of wood. I did license a piece of wood. That is correct. And it goes right over your keyboard. So you can put pieces of paper, notebooks, your dinner, or whatnot over your keyboard and not mess up your keys.
Courtney, I got a bone to pick with you. That thing was too damn big. I couldn't put it on my shelf back here with all the other InventRight students. So license some smaller stuff so I can put it on the shelf, okay?
Yeah, I'll work on that, man, just for
Yeah,
you.
I'm really upset about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You just need a bigger wall or a bigger, you need a push and hang or something to,
Yeah.
mount it somehow. It was, that was not the goal, 2 years. And I tried many different categories. I wanted it in like office supplies area. Of course, that's to me what made total sense. That was a hard no. Didn't get any interest in there. I had a good 30 companies just in that area. Tried another category, tried another one, tried bath and home, tried housewares. No. Finally went into like the school dorm area. Never been in a dorm in my life. I don't know that area at all. And I got a license there. So a lot of learning on the spot, and changing your category can really help getting a licensing deal. Took a lot of perseverance, a lot of resilience that was learned. That was not something I had at the beginning. That was, again, very painful. And then, yeah, the passion is definitely what helped propel me. And now, of course, I have 7 licensed products, and those are some of the other products on the right for those images. I love this quote so much. I just had to place this in here. Nothing worthwhile ever comes easy. And we will get more into that through this presentation as well. But I just wanted to start with that for a quick mindset and maybe internal reflection as we go through this presentation. Okay, so I like to call this putting your ducks in a row. You can see those little rubber duckies. And so this is what I recommend for getting ready to pitch. So you want your sell sheet to be done. You want your PPA to be filed. You want to have your hit list ready, and you want to have your scripts ready. Depending on how you're pitching, it's of course going to depend on what scripts you're going to use, and we'll get into scripts a little bit later as well. But you do want to have your scripts ready, so you are literally copying and pasting these scripts in LinkedIn or email or phone call or whatnot. This last one I didn't think was that big of a deal until my students are having problems over at Inventors, and I was having problems tracking emails. Though it's quite simple to just use a Gmail account, and though I think that's just fine to totally go ahead and do and not have like a professional email, but you want to make sure that you're not losing emails. That's incredibly important. So if you get a lot of emails, if you get a lot of spam, a lot of junk, it's just use a lot, probably more than if you're getting maybe throwing a random number out of maybe 40 emails a day. You need to find a new email address, because this is business and you want to make sure that you are being professional and you're not losing emails. You do not need to create a business email at all, but you do need to make sure you don't lose those emails. And it's amazing how a very large amount of people that I talk with, that they definitely have more than 40 emails and they're easy to get lost. So I would highly encourage you to just create another Gmail account or a Yahoo or a Hotmail. It does not matter. Put your first name, last name in there. It's available. Great. You're done. Just make sure you try your best to not lose those emails, because it happens far more often than you'd think it would. Okay. Change your perspective. So yeah, the number one reason why inventors don't get licensing deals. Now, this is a personal opinion of mine. And it's because inventors give up too soon. And I have a whole article just on that. Usually I write articles out of sheer frustration of the industry. It's usually I'm like, I'm frustrated. Like, I got to write about this. And then articles get produced because of my frustration. It's phenomenal in this industry, because more often than not, inventors give up earlier than the opportunity is to license it. So if we recommend in general to pitch to 30 companies, what if I stopped then? What if I got 30 no's? What if I got 40 no's, 50 no's? I got 81 no's for my first product. If I stopped at 30 or 40 or 50, I wouldn't have any licensing deals right now. None. Persistence is so incredibly important. That was even beyond what we recommend. And I was stubborn. I'm like, people want my product. Like, come on, like, look at this piece of wood. Like, I mean, seriously? And of course, that persistence, there's a reason to stop at certain times, but that persistence really did help. So don't stop too soon. Make sure that you utilize every single opportunity that you can when you're pitching. Of course, don't stand in your way. I could talk for centuries on that. That's usually what happens. We make the decision for the companies that we don't think the product is really worth, after all that time and energy we've been putting into it, months and months of getting it to pitching. we get about 10, 15 no's and we're like, maybe the industry doesn't want it. Like, we're making that decision. Like, we should not be making that decision. We should be making decisions based off of what companies are saying, how they are perceiving the product, not based on our personal, emotional, potentially heated, opinions and thoughts on our product. There are 3 types of numbers I like to go over. You've got many ideas, you've got many companies on your hit list, and you've got many forms of outreach. As long as you utilize those numbers and boost those numbers up as high as you possibly can. In my opinion, what's so cool about this industry is if you play to that and you're open and you're honest to feedback and whatnot, you will get a licensing deal. It's just for what product? It's for how many numbers, it's for how many years it's going to take, it's for if you're open to various feedback. But if you do all that, really good chance you're going to get a deal. It's just, you got to play to those numbers.
But Courtney, you're saying work on more ideas, reach out to more companies per idea, and reach out all different ways. And you'll probably go into that.
Correct.
And that's key.
Incredibly key. So important. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so then you also really want to develop a relationship with these companies. I like to use my first product that I'm pitching to a company as more so a vessel for that relationship. Maybe you're not as, emotionally invested in a particular product, but it fits someone's line. Great, send it over to them. That gives you something to talk about to develop that long-term relationship. And that is really why products get licensed, because of a relationship, because of you. Often not even because, of course they're licensing the product, but it has way more emphasis to you as an inventor than the actual product that you're licensing. Of course, you want to be following up. You want to ask questions with your potential licensee. And this was a big perspective change for me, this bottom bullet here, that in truth, it is not hard. Pitching, for the most part, in a majority of licensing categories, it is not hard. A lot of the time you are copying and pasting. Now, emotionally, toying back and forth with your emotions you go through, that's hard. That is definitely hard. But the actual pitching part, that's not difficult. But you've never done this before. So everything, unless you have a sheer talent for something right off the bat, it's going to be hard. And you've never done it before because you're learning through the process. It's really important to know the difference between those two things. Engage your curiosity, learn about the licensing industry. You've never done it. So of course it's going to be difficult at first because you're learning how to ride a bike. You're going to fall, you're going to get injured. It's just a part of the learning process. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about.
There's a lot of text on this slide. You're hurting my brain, Courtney.
I want to make sure that people have as many takeaways as possible. Feel free to screenshot this. Of course, there's going to be a recording later. I'm going to briefly go through this. There's, of course, a lot of conversation around this, so feel free for everyone to look through this material. A lot of people assume that a no when you're pitching is almost anything a potential licensee says that is not, I want to talk with my team, or yes. And that is just so not true. A lot of no's are turned into yeses. In fact, my very first contract that I got with my 4 products in it, they said not at this time, but I took it personally and said they're not interested at all. And that's a big problem when you're emotionally, overly emotionally connected to your product, is you just assume, oh, they're not interested and that's it. Yet I responded back in 6 months and they said yes. And they got 4 products licensed instead of 1 because they asked for more ideas. So you really want to be incredibly careful what really does constitute a no. In my mind, this is the only way to track your progress when you're pitching in the licensing industry, is how many no's you have, but they have to be real no's. So I personally like to have 5 guidelines of what really constitutes a true no. They saw the sell sheet. So if you just said what the product was in a script and they said no, they didn't see the sell sheet. So that's not a true no. Find someone else in the company. They said no, so they used a negation, doesn't have to say the word no, but that kind of thing in the script, they need to say that. It's not a false no, which I'll go over in a second. If they don't accept ideas, that is a reflection on how they do business. That is not a reflection on your product. So you can't say that you can cross them off your list, but you can't count that as a true no because it's not against your particular product. It's just a business decision. That's okay. And then if they say, we're not into, licensing, if you made your product and we could buy the inventory, then yeah, we'd be interested. That doesn't count as a no either. You can, again, cross them off your list, but they essentially don't accept ideas, and that's not against your product. So those 5 guidelines can help super well in relation to figuring out what your progress is. And most often when I talk to people, they say, well, I've got 30 no's. Like, I think I'm done. Like, no one wants my product. First off, I'll explain my 81 no's in that journey. Second, I'll help them go through these guidelines. Of all these 5 guidelines, how many of those no's are true no's? And most often it's probably like a 10th of their list. They've got, maybe 5 no's really, which means they got to develop more persistence and push a little bit harder. And that's great. It develops grit. And we need that. That's really important in the licensing industry. But don't kid yourself. Make sure you go through guidelines like that or develop your own to make sure that they are really true no's. What are false no's? So yeah, here's some guidelines for what constitutes a false no. If they say no, they don't accept ideas. It may be true, but it may be not. We kind of get into the psychology of this. They may be trying to get rid of you. They think you're spam. Your original script sounded a little weird. That happens a lot for especially large companies. So they don't know what to do with you. They just say, I don't know. No, we don't accept ideas. And then you assume they don't, and you cross them off. This happens so often. It's insane that we just assume they don't, cross them off, and they could have been our potential licensee. You just got to find someone else. Make sure it's a true no. Sometimes when people don't know the answer, they also say no. And then if they're incorrectly informed, this also unfortunately happens quite often too with employees that they've never heard it. It's kind of a rare question. So if they haven't heard it, the answer is probably no. And that's obviously not true. They're just misinformed. Cut them some slack. This is usually a small portion of their job, but pay attention to that. Go into the psychology of it to figure out, if it's a false no or not. That's one form of false no. The other form is if they say no, they don't like your concept. So the first one was they say no, they don't accept ideas. Second one is a representation on their negative experience with your sell sheet or with your actual product. So I won't go too into this because we have more to cover, but those are some examples of things that you should be aware of. Read their sentence carefully, articulate what they exactly said. You want to ask some good follow-up questions, but not push them. So I bolded it and underlined where it says, understand it is a pass. That is so important. You don't want to change their mind. You just want to gather information. And companies and employees can feel a little bit defensive when you don't say something like, I understand it's a pass, because they think that you're trying to change their mind. And that's not what you want to do. You want to respect their opinion and appreciate it, and then ask for more information. They may be misunderstanding your product. They may think that you are trying to sell them inventory. There's so many misconceptions that happen in this area. So you really, really want to hang tight to these bullet points here in number 2 if they say no, because you definitely can change that no to a yes. Okay, so you have to do beyond average to get beyond average results. This hit me so hard when I read this. You have to do beyond average, beyond what everyone else is doing to create success. This, in my mind, is how success works. If everyone, won a race, everyone was running and they all got first place, then the success bar would be higher. Like, not everyone can win. Like, there has to be a winner. So they make the race harder. So there is a winner. That is like the embodiment or truth of how to define success. So if everyone's pitching to 5 companies a week, why would you pitch to 5 if you're just going to get average results? And in our industry, if average results is some people responding, some people maybe having some interest, not a lot of movement on average, then why would you even expect to get really great results or, get an instant licensing deal? You're doing what everyone else is doing. So trying to put that in perspective can help a little bit, I just put out a podcast. It's called the Serial Inventing Podcast. And my third episode was exactly about this, the success bar, and how do you get beyond average results, and what does that look like? And for those of you who are into this kind of psychology aspect, that tiny URL goes to that episode that you can listen to. Okay, the game plan. I'm sure a lot of you guys are waiting for this kind of thing. It's like, now that we got the perspective, like we understand pitching's important. Yep, resilience, tenacity, yep, all that, good. But what the heck am I doing? And now we're gonna get into it right here, the game plan. So these are some preliminary things you need to be aware of so you set yourself up for success. Where does licensing stand in your priorities? I would highly recommend to make a priorities list. Is it spend time with the family, do your 9-to-5 job, and then licensing? Is it at the very bottom of your list of your 20 things you got to do? Do you think you'll even get to it in your priorities list? You really don't want to kid yourself. So it's really important to make sure that you know where it stands. And if you're not making movement, you can't just be mad at yourself like, wow, like I just don't have time. No, look back at that list. See if it's so low, you may not be getting to it. Like, change those priorities. Find a way to have just a day where you invent, or 1 hour after you get a cup of coffee at your favorite coffee shop, and you sit down and you work for an hour. Play, back and forth, figure out what really makes sense for you and your priorities. For those of you who are just starting to pitch and who want to just be all gung-ho and go for it, I call this beast mode. I'd recommend starting with a 2-week pitch week, as it says in orange there. Pitch really, really hard for the first 2 weeks. You will not be more excited about your product almost ever again, ever, in its entirety of its ideation stage and going to potential licensees and whatnot. People are the most excited when they are just about to pitch. All this time they spent like, let's do this, like, let's pitch. Like, those first 2 weeks are so incredibly crucial, because after that, for the most part, your energy just goes down and your mind is on to the next shiny object. So utilize that time. Of course, creating a goal is really, really beneficial. It's good to be very strategic about what day and time and for how long you're going to be pitching. That can really help. Trying to come up with methods like the Pomodoro method, different tools, behavior tactics. Though we're talking about pitching, we really got to be honest with ourselves and go a little bit into the psychology of how we work, because we create a lot of excuses as people. And we don't want that to be the reason why we just don't sit down and pitch. We need to understand ourselves and how we operate so we actually have a chance. Remember, we're trying to do beyond average. Right now, we're just talking about trying to be average, let alone get that deal. So it's important to really understand, like, why are we making excuses? Where is that coming from? How do we knock that away or understand it and figure out, a different way to go about it so we are successful? Okay, so another thing that I'll mention is a lot of people think that email and LinkedIn and phone calls are the only ways to outreach to a company. And so just having this yellow list at the bottom here, the 8 types of outreach, even just from my own pitching, has been such a game changer, because we only think email, we'll find cold emails or get someone's email, great, LinkedIn and messages and whatnot, great. But what about the live chat? They're waiting there to help customers. They are forced to talk to you. Utilize that. Like, that's a perfect way to get more information and find the right person. Now, this is my own personal opinion, but I put these in the order of what I personally think is successful. So when I am pitching, I go down this list exactly. I start with email, I do LinkedIn, I see if there's a live chat. If so, I'll utilize it. If they have like a customer service form on their site, I will use that. Then the portal, Facebook, phone, and Instagram. Okay, so going back a little bit to the psychology, you really want to decide what person you are, and you can change this a million times, but you want to try both of them, because sometimes we just don't know how we operate. If you lowball a pitching goal, such as pitch 5 companies in 1 week, will your brain stop you and say, great, I did 5, I'm done for the week because you hit your goal? but you'll actually do it. You'll actually make movement. So 5 is better than nothing, and you're making movement, and that's all that matters. But then you'll stop. Or if you pick a highballing pitching goal, such as 30 companies in 1 week you're reaching out to, will you feel overwhelmed and you just won't even start it? Like, I got to do 30. I got to find that hour. Like, I got to sit down, and you make no movement at all. And then that's even worse. So you don't want it to halt yourself. You want to make movement. So will you be like, all right, I got this goal here. I got 30 companies. I got to do this. Like, will it help you make movement, or will it stall you? So trying to go back and forth and playing to lowballing or highballing a goal is really important to figure out how you work with your own life.
Courtney, do you talk about that with your students?
Do I talk about that with my
No,
students?
you do.
All the time? Yes, because a lot of pitching is once you like go through the scripts and all the templated things to say, and you're like a robot going through all that, easy. The psychological and emotional and mental part is the hardest part. That's where people stall. So the more I can shed a light to this, especially with my students, is incredibly helpful. It's usually very internal, and we got to bring this out and have conversations about it so we know why we're not making progress. I wanted to expose to you guys that this is how I personally pitch. This is it. These A through G steps are how I pitch every single time. This is, of course, what works for me. It may not work for you. This is how I so far have gotten my 7 licensing deals. Now, there's, of course, more to just following this. There's, of course, much more, but this is a really great way to start. A lot of people get really nervous when they're about to pitch, and they're like, "Oh, I'll pitch in a month. Like, I got family stuff going on, and I just can't right now. But next month, I will be pitching." And then, it keeps going on, and a month later, you either don't get pitching, or you set down some time and you said, "I'm going to pitch now." And you sit down and you're like, I have no idea where I'm going to start. Like, what the heck am I going to do now that I finally got myself to sit down and pitch? Like, what now? Like, okay, I sat down, like, great. Now I'm going to leave and get a coffee and be done with it. Like, what the heck do you do then? So this is a really good place to start. And of course, this is also, again, what I do every single time I pitch. I go through it. I don't do, of course, C before B or B before A. I go down that list, and it helps me make sure that I'm utilizing every opportunity I can for each company.
Well, you got to go back to that last slide, Courtney. Those training wheels, what do you strap those to your shins with duct tape? How does that work? Can you explain that?
Those
I'm a little confused on that part.
Sadly, those are for bikes. I'm still working on an invention that you can use for your own body, but it's just not out yet.
It was just a visual. Okay, I was taking it literally. Sorry.
Good stuff. Okay, this is probably the hardest thing my students have to learn. This is a big sticking point right now, especially for the past probably 3 or 4 months with my students. Very, very hard to learn. Incredibly difficult. So a lot of people give away their power too fast. So when a company responds back and says, great, do you have CAD drawings? Like, holy cow, they sound interested. You want to immediately respond. If you do, then you can say yes. If you don't, you want to give them what they're looking for, but you want to be honest because you don't have it. And that's a whole nother discussion, strategic discussion. But you don't want to respond too quickly. When people are very excited about a company wanting to make their product or their idea a reality, you know that the ball is in your court, and you immediately think, they are waiting for me. I have to respond. The longer you wait, there's a positively correlated connection to, now we're not talking weeks and weeks, but we're talking, if they respond, wait 3 or 4 hours, wait 2 or 3 or 4 days. You're going to get a far more professional response out of you than just immediately responding. The ball is in your court. So this is where you as an inventor have the power. As soon as you throw that ball back to their court, you've lost the power. You have no power right now. Utilize that power. That's the golden key. Think about what you're going to say. Then go ahead and respond. The really hard part about this is when we are in this moment, when a company responds, we immediately have that reaction of, I got to respond. Understanding that you will end up creating a better response if you wait is so incredibly difficult, because we immediately think, no, this is the response. We can't come up with anything better. Like, in that moment, you will think that. And stopping and really understanding that you really do want to wait is so hard. So try to really remember this, that put on a timer. You're going to wait 3 days. There's a good chance the company's probably going to forget about you in the next hour, if not a day. So just use that to your advantage. They're doing tons of other things. Just let that time lapse. Unless they say it's incredibly urgent, just let it go. Think about it. You will be a much more professional inventor if you wait and concoct a better response. Also, a quick tip here that some people are learning how to drive, as in learning how to license, in a Porsche. Please be aware of that. We're not talking about like an old car. Like, if this is your baby and you're pitching with your baby, that means you're like learning how to ride a BMX, but you're learning how to ride a bike for the first time. That is so dangerous. So just be aware of that, and even more of a reason to tread lightly and take your time to create a good response. All right, now to those pitching scripts. So we'll start with email. You can see those are a couple of scripts you can go ahead and take a look at. I'd start with the emails on their website. Those are going to be cold emails. Look around their contact us page, maybe their about us, look at the footer, if that can help to find emails. You can try typing in submit idea to the name of the company on Google. There's lots of private pages that you can't find through their sitemap on, the company website. But if you type it in on Google, for example, if you type in, and you can do this right now, type in submit idea to play with a purpose. There will be a page you can find. Now, of course, maybe this has changed, but you'll find the page. But if you go to their website, it's much harder to find. So try doing that. Try every single company. There may be a portal, there may be an email, but it's easier to find through keyword searches on Google than often through the website. Also try using hunter.io. Remember that we're talking about the breadth of as many different ways of outreach you can all at once, all the emails, all the phone numbers, all the LinkedIns. There's no reason to wait. We're talking about as many as you possibly can. So if you find an email or two on submit idea to, and then you find the email, great, use it. Do you find a customer service email? Great, use that too. Find a support email? Excellent, use that too. PR? Yes, go for it. You're just as I like to say, a long lost inventor in the woods, and you just want help. You just want the right person. You just want sales or marketing. That's all you want. So you're just asking these people of like, hey, I'm an inventor. Here you go. I'm a professional inventor, and I have a product idea that I think fits in really well with your product line. I'm looking to license it. Do you know who the right person is to send my sell sheet to? Usually I speak to someone in sales or marketing. That is a really good way to start any email that you are just trying to find the right person, even to a sales or marketing email, because it may be, if you're pitching to sales, it may be the marketing department or vice versa. So this is a really good immediate outreach script to use for a cold email. And then, of course, there's a follow-up script below as well that you can take a look at. Okay, next down that yellow list line, we went to email. Now we're at LinkedIn. Highly recommend that you get 500 connections with open innovation product developers or product developers on LinkedIn. Just type it in on LinkedIn and connect with every single person you can. Incredibly important. You want to get that 500 connections because it's going to make you look far more professional and active in LinkedIn. Definitely go ahead and do that. And then also, once you're done with that, connect with, and this is my own personal preference, but I like to connect with 20 employees at each company on your hit list. Now, I'm a little bit non-discriminatory in this respect. I will connect with everyone: intern, past employee, president, CEO, sales, marketing. Not a fan of sending messages to legal. That can get into a messy area with patents and whatnot, but you can connect with them because they might be able to help you get more connections. I'm not a fan of putting in a message when I send a connection request. You can if you want to. I'm just personally not a fan of it. You want to wait for them to connect after. And then I like to use that notification on my phone. When I see that notification and I see, oh, it looks like they connected, I use that as a reminder to go ahead and use this script you can see here. Now, if you are a fan of notifications or you miss it all the time or you swipe your notifications, that's fine. There's many different ways you can either go to like your connections list and go that way, or you can sort by company and you can do it that way too. This is just what I do. And there's an example outreach script you can use. Of course, I would highly not recommend sending a sell sheet through LinkedIn. So if they say, yes, send it over, then you want to say, great, can I have your email? It's much better and easier to track and maybe a little bit safer, maybe, I don't know, to go through LinkedIn. People are usually checking for email. Usually people are checking email far more often than LinkedIn. So I'd recommend get their email address, take it off LinkedIn and continue that conversation there with the sell sheet. All right, just a couple more slides here. Follow-ups, so incredibly important. The difference between getting a deal and not. If you did send them your sell sheet, this is an example. If you did send it and they haven't responded, I am pretty intense in follow-ups. I will do a good 7 days. You could do 7 to 10 days if you want to, every 7 to 10 days follow-up. Sometimes if I'm really not getting a response, I will do it for the 5th day, but a week is a good way to do it. And you want to do a lot of follow-ups. We're talking 2, 3, 4 follow-ups until they respond. There's an example. Hello, just checking in. If you believe my product is not a right fit for your company, please reply with not a right fit. I've attached my sell sheet again to take a look. Thanks again for your time. If you haven't sent them a sell sheet and they haven't responded, great. There's a script for that. And then here's another.
Courtney, a lot of people don't want to do that because they don't want to get the no, but it's just going to linger. Sometimes it's important to ask for the no, right?
Yeah, and really that's the only way to track your progress is those no's. So if you're afraid of no's, then you got to get really, really used to no's. And if you're not willing to do that, then as painful as it is for me to say, licensing is just not for you, because you will not be able to be successful at all. And that's hard. Like you got to learn, like you're growing with this. So it's going to be hard at first, but you got to be vulnerable. You got to be open to it. And then it becomes easier.
Well, you're making it easier for them. They just have to type not a right fit. You're letting them know they don't need to type a long explanation, nothing, that you're okay with that. So you can get that no, you need to move on. And they might go, no, actually, I'm very interested or whatever, you know?
And it happens often too. Yeah. Okay. And then, so if they do want to send your email to someone in the company, I'll forward the sell sheet. Or they won't tell you what their email address is. They're trying to be the gatekeeper, the go-between. Those are some scripts as well that I love utilizing because it creates a level of professionalism and maturity when you say something like this. Now, if they say no, then that's fine. Send them your sell sheet. Not a big deal. No need to argue at that point. There's no arguing. Just send it to them and then find someone else because they may never forward it, or the person that they're sending it to may never respond. Or they do respond and then the gatekeeper never tells you. So there's so many problems with gatekeepers. We really want to develop a deep relationship with the person who's looking for product ideas. So go ahead and send the sell sheet if they won't let you any other way, and then find someone else. Keep going, keep pitching to that company, find other employees, other email addresses, phone numbers until you really can talk with the right person. Initial interest. If there is interest, there's of course so much discussion around this. So here's just some quick tips for if there is initial interest. What do you do? Get on a video call if you can. If not, a phone call. If not, then just keep doing emails. That's okay. Some companies, in fact, more and more are, I don't know, they're a little bit shy to immediately get on a phone call, but I highly recommend scheduling one if you can. This is just another deeper discussion, but often companies don't know how to move the conversation forward. So they ask for things, whether they really need it or not. We call these carrots: prototypes, CAD drawings, dimensions for something relevant from CAD drawings, PPAs, they will ask and ask and ask. Now, there may be a reason that they're asking, and there may not be. So more discussions on that later, but be careful. You don't want to just give them everything. Like, you want to give and take. This is a partnership. So if they're asking for something, you should figure out, are they really serious about the product? Can you get on a call to talk more about where they see your product fitting into their line? Why do they want these things? You want to, give them what they're looking for, but not just so freely. You want to have a partnership. You want to develop a relationship. It's good to ask if they've done licensing before, asking about how new product development works at their company. Really good answer. They may say they've never, or question, they may say they've never done it, or they will talk more with the team. Getting more information on that is really important because they may think that you have inventory. A lot of companies think that you are a supplier and you are contacting or want to contact a buyer. And so asking that can help clarify what your goal is, meaning licensing, and that you're not looking to have a manufacturer yourself. Asking when you should follow up, really important. You want to always keep a timeline. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Holy cow, does everyone do this? This is also a really hard thing to learn. See that cute little Easter basket down there? Yeah, don't do that. You definitely want to continue to pitch. You always want to continue pitching until a contract is signed. And I mean signed. That means you should still be pitching when there's initial interest, when you're talking with the team, when you're negotiating terms, all the time until you sign a contract. Don't put your eggs in a basket. Don't stop pitching. There may be a better company there. Contracts fall through all the time. So just do your best to continue pitching. Okay, so those were the main ones we talked about. Other methods of pitching: live chats. Party City is an excellent one if you want to get used to messing with live chats. Go to Party City, use their live chat, ask them anything. They're really responsive and a great way to. I don't know how live chats work. She mentioned Party City. Okay, let me go there and let me just play with it. Let me just get used to this. They're a really great place to start. Now I say that, and I bet all of y'all is gonna go on and go to Party City and bombard them like crazy. So maybe wait a couple days for that. Going to their Facebook page, I found a lot of great benefit for that. Facebook Messenger, using that and contacting them. Not as much through Instagram, but still I've got a fair amount of responses by direct messaging the company. Calling, also Play with a Purpose is a really good place to start with them. Just call them up and you can feel free to ask them questions. They're very kind. And then online portal or form, definitely go ahead and utilize that too. It is quite a roller coaster ride. Holy cow, you're going to love your product. You're going to want to chuck it out a window. It's a constant back and forth emotional thing that we go through. As long as you could understand that will happen, then it won't concern you as much. You know that you're about to get on a roller coaster. As soon as you are now aware that you are in a roller coaster, you can manage the emotions far better than not realizing you're on one and then not wanting to move forward with your product. And then you stop. And that's the worst thing. You're reprimanding yourself of opportunities. That's horrible. That means no one can enjoy your product forever. You never want that to happen. So when you're at a low, you're not, getting a lot of responses, you sent out 30 emails, you feel pretty freaking good. You're ready to get all those emails coming back. Nothing. You get no email back. You're thinking, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. Wait, because you still may have, another week, do 30 more emails and you may get 10 responses. You're using the same scripts, everything's the same. So just be aware that it is such a roller coaster. And when you're in that low feeling, let it pass, it will pass, try again, try different forms of outreach, try different scripts, and it will go back up that hill again. Just definitely be aware of that. All right, down to the last two here. Again, lots of conversations around this, but what if you are not getting any bites? So are you following up every single week? Or are you doing it every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks? Are you not being very organized? Are you not sure what you have been doing? You haven't been writing it down and making sure you're, have all, a system to make sure you know who you have and haven't pitched with yet. Let the facts tell the story, not you. Like I started this whole presentation with, you want to make decisions off of what the industry says. And that should be off of multiple companies, not just one company saying this is too expensive to manufacture. Don't redo your product yet. That is one company, just one. Wait till you have 5 or 10 responses saying it's too expensive to manufacture. Then you can go down that hole, but not yet. And don't make the decision yourself either. Changing your category can be of great help. Looking back at the sell sheet, asking for feedback, really, really important. Changing your scripts every so often, that could be of help. Changing the subject line, pushing harder, in a different outreach method, that can help. In relation to the story time and having resilience, I'll leave you guys with this. This is my own secret, and I guess my mind works in 8-bit for some reason. This is how I visualize it in my head, these cute little graphics. My secret is the 99 no's. So this is not necessarily the goal per se to get 99 no's, but it's a perspective shift. Your goal is you're going through, this desert here, and there's a treasure chest way over there on the far right. It's pretty far. And that guy over there with the blonde hair, he has a contract, and it's the perfect contract. It is the golden contract. You want that contract. It's just locked in that treasure chest. And the only way to get that key, the only way, is to get 99 no's. The only way. It is a desert. You will not get offers. You will get nothing. Nothing until 99. So this is a way to build resilience. As long as you think of this perspective of, great, I got 2 no's, like, great, now I just have 97 more. Like, great, like now I'm at 20. Great, now I have, this many more. Like, this is a really good way to not get as bogged down and frustrated and saddened by all of these no's, because you're not going to get a contract on the next outreach because you're not at 99 no's. So you're not creating this false hope. You're creating tenacity and grit and resilience. And that's what's going to get you that deal. That exact perspective change is going to get you that deal. Just that one thing. Incredibly important. Of course, hopefully you get a deal before those 99. That would be fantastic. Of course, mine was 81. I hope it's still way before that. We're talking 20 or 30 no's would be awesome. But having that resilience and understanding of the 99 no's is a really good way to push through and make it happen. Okay, and then, so I have a downloadable you guys can feel free to take home with you. So get the downloadable 10 pitching tips. It's at that tiny URL. You can write it down. You can screenshot it. Of course, this is recorded, so it will be up probably in a couple hours. So you can feel free to look at it then. Just 10 tips that we didn't go over today. And then if you guys were interested in my article of the #1 reason why inventors don't get licensing deals, I also made that a very easy link to take a look at. Thank you so much, everyone.
Cool.
Excellent.
Questions?
Courtney,
I have to have a talk with you. Your energy is way too low. You need to work on that.
Darn it.
It's a problem. No, I'm just kidding. You did a fantastic job. That was great. You got a lot of great, nice comments in there. Do you have time for a few questions? I can see if I can cherry pick a few here. Let's see. Well, a bunch of people saying, even though the speaker canceled, oh my God, Courtney's knocking it out of the park, things to that effect. So, and I agree. That's great. Thank you for stepping up at the last minute and putting this together. I know you already had the presentation, but you still had a bunch put together with just like 2 hours notice. So it was pretty incredible.
I love this topic. It's so incredibly important.
A ton of people are asking. The replay will be in the website by Friday at the latest. So go into the IGA and Meta Groups of America website and you can pick it up there. Let's see. So one person was asking, Courtney, we get this question a lot over at InventRight about, do I ask them to sign an NDA before I submit? And I got, that's always a long answer, but why don't you answer that?
Yeah, so of course you do want to do your due diligence. You want to make sure that you are going to be pitching to a reputable company, but no. We're not a fan of NDAs. It really slows down the process and just adds another level of something like this, just adds so much more for them to go ahead and do. Like, you just want to offer a little bit to them. You don't even want to send the sell sheet right out. You want to ask for permission, ask for consent if you can send the sell sheet. You want to ask little bit by little bit, and an NDA right off the bat, not even knowing who the heck you are, is just far too much at the beginning. And even then, so even if you've got like a great relationship, often there even at that point is not a need to have an NDA almost at any time.
So, what we guide our students at our other business Inventors is to file a provisional patent. So you can legally say patent pending on your sell sheet or your marketing materials. And imagine if they got 200 submissions a month and every single NDA was different. They'd need their attorney on there full time just to read them all. It might say you own their company or something, right? It's just not a reasonable expectation. And that's not legal advice. Please don't consider any of this legal advice. Consult your attorney if you're looking for legal advice. That's our little disclaimer. But later, maybe you want to send something more, some CAD drawings or your prototype or something. Then you're maybe the 2 inventors and 200 that they showed interest in, and then it's practical. It's just not practical. So when a patent attorney tells you have to do that, they're telling you have to bloody your head by beating it against a brick wall is what they're telling you. They have no idea what they're talking about. Again, not legal advice. You got patent pending status because you filed a provisional patent application. It's only $75. I don't dislike that question, Courtney, but I always feel like I need to say so many things because they're like,
Same.
but, and so I tried to help out there. Do you see any ones in here that you like?
There is a question here, though I haven't looked up, but recently Raul said, how often should we follow up if companies are opening the email and there is no response for days / weeks?
Days. You want to comment on the days part? Is that kind of funny that they think days would be long to wait? You want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of aspects of this question for sure. For starters, opening the email, even just saying that right off the bat is saying that you have a tracker. Now, there are a lot of people who are fans of email trackers. I'm not a fan of email trackers because often it can go into someone's junk just because of the little thing that is tracking it, essentially, without getting into technical terms. And so sometimes it automatically goes into spam, and I want the highest chance. Now, there are reasons to have a tracker, so this is just my personal opinion. Okay, so yeah, so with that said, if there's no response for days / weeks, so yeah, we're talking about yes, we should no matter what be following up once a week. Days is impatient for sure. We're not a fan of that. Usually, besides the very large companies, a majority of mid-sized companies, as we are pitching to, the person in charge of new product, ideas, open innovation, whatnot, usually that's a very, very small sliver of their job. Very small. They have so many other things they're doing in the company for mid-sized companies that they're gonna probably need a lot of reminders, just like us when we have various things that we're doing, and some aunt or uncle, messages us. It sometimes takes a couple reminders to respond back an email. Though this is business, this is a small part of the job. So you really do not want to do any more follow-ups than, about once a week, especially if there is no response, and irrelevant if they're opening the email or not.
I like Danielle's comment. I love the 99 no approach. Great perspective. Wonderful job with this training, Courtney. Thanks. You got a whole bunch of those. So that's fantastic. I haven't seen you in a long time, Danielle. It's nice to see you. Hi. I recognized you on there. Otto said, no one is better than Courtney. Great presentation. I agree. She's amazing. She really
Thanks, Otto.
is. Let's see if there's any other ones here. I think we hit the hour though. I think we should do a group. Do you have any ones in there, Courtney, that you want to ask?
One other is Gary said, do you submit to a company's website even without a name or email? If it's an order form, it depends on what exactly we're talking about. If it's like a customer service form, then they will ask you to put your email in, and of course you want to say your name. But it kind of depends what you're talking about. What exactly this is. If say companies website, but because you're going through an order form, they will email you back through that system if they are checking it.
Let me ask you this question. Stephen and I have been talking a lot on YouTube and on LinkedIn about submission portals on companies' website and how we think they're a waste of time. And you know, a lot of times they have them there, so it's a convenient black hole to send inventors to.
Right.
Sometimes they're showing interest, but a lot of inventors, they go, well, if they don't have that button on their site, if they don't have that form, like, they're not inventor friendly. What is your take on portals on companies' sites?
Well, portals for starters are usually for a little bit, most often larger companies. So just automatically assuming that if they don't have an inventor page, that they are not open to submissions is a massive misconception. Like, you never want to connect those two ever. Most companies don't have the resources to do that. I mean, in my own personal opinion about portals, just talking about portals and not forms and whatnot, if they have it and the terms are good, I personally don't see a downside to using it, but never rely on them in my mind. It's there. So great. It may be great. It also may be a complete black hole, but if the terms are good, great, go ahead and do it. And then forget that you ever did that and pretend to pitch for the first time with that company with emails and phone calls and all that.
That's a great, excellent. Do you want to do that? We can do the family photos. So
Sure.
basically, like, give a thumbs up or a wave and a smile. It only takes me 2 seconds to go through. So go ahead, go for it, guys. I got to do a couple pages. So there we go. All right, there's page 1. Page 2, keep those thumbs up, keep smiling. Okay, page 3 and 4, people are on video. So we're good. I got it. Thank you. Courtney, was there any other ones? I know people just can't get enough of you. So was there anything else in there that you saw that you wanted to ask? I bet people are typing more questions now. We could probably go for another hour. It looks like just a ton of thank yous. Wow. You're going to have to read those and enjoy those with a nice cup of tea a little bit later, and go, wow, I'm so great. I'm fantastic. No,
Right.
Seriously, you should, because you are. Anyway. Do you want to do this? Let's try to do a round of applause for Courtney. Courtney, you know how to do it better than I do. So if you could unmute everybody and then we'll remute everybody and we could give her a round of applause, that would be great. So.
Okay. Yeah, here we go.
You ready? Okay.
You will have to unmute yourself.
Woo! You go, girl.
Yay! Courtney.
Hooray! Courtney. Well done.
All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Very, very sweet. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Courtney. Thank you. Was there anything else I forgot? I see our LinkedIn for licensing expert, Benjamin Harrison, here too. That's pretty cool. Hey, Ben. I'm just gonna unmute him. Like, yeah. Hey, Ben. What do you think of Courtney? How great was she?
I couldn't have disagreed with somebody more often than in Courtney's explanation of pitch. No, Courtney.
He's a joke.
You know how Courtney. Courtney's amazing. I love your tenacity, your passion for the community, your passion for what it is that you do here. I think it's incredible, and I loved the advice about not rushing your responses. It was something that whenever I was getting into LinkedIn and doing a lot of pitching on it, I really like to do it in the morning. And I would end up with so many fast responses during the day when I had people to manage and all this responsibility. It was so stressful. And so I love the advice of not immediately feeling like pressured to respond. You think about your response for a second, type it out, let it sit, come back to it. You will come across more professional. I thought you did an amazing job, Courtney, but I'm used to that. That's what I think. I'm used to you knocking it out of the park. That's what you always do, girl.
You know what I think you guys should take away? Thank you, Ben. Should take away from Courtney is you can't just be excited about your product. You need to be excited about the process. And you can see Courtney's excitement about teaching you the process. And once you get into the process and it becomes normal and it becomes, Michelle's trying to show something, but it's all blurry. it becomes normal and it becomes like second nature. Like you guys are all good at something, right? That's natural to you. You don't even have to think about it. And that's where Courtney is. And you guys need to get there, and you need to just get through that struggle until it gets comfortable, and you'll get there. But try to find the excitement in each part of it. And don't beat yourself up, and be positive. And if that's one thing you got from Courtney, I think that's it, you know.
I think that's really well said. And to slightly go off of that, I would also say that it's really important to remember like how success is created. As we were talking about, you know, you have to do beyond average to get beyond average results. So incredibly important to make sure that you understand that this is a game of grit and tenacity. And if you just continue to stay a part of the industry and beat out all the people who say, I give up, like, that's fantastic. Like, okay, then licensing isn't for everyone. That's okay. But if you just stay here for the long game, you'll be in such a better, you'll feel empowered, you will be successful, you'll change as a person. Holy cow, when I started this 6 years ago, compared to being able to take no's with grace and professionalism and maturity, like, you guys don't even want to see how I pitched at year 1 or 2 or 3. Like, holy cow, does it change? Like, that is so important to take note of that it's going to be hard when you start, because you're learning. Like, we're all learning and growing here, and it's going to be such a vast contrast. You're going to go back and write down what your script was when you started, or how you pitched. And then a couple years from now, you'll look and you won't even recognize the person. Like, understand that growth and appreciate it and mature through it. That's so important.
I think
Courtney,
beyond average is a great 2-word summary of you, Courtney. That's exactly what you are. It's exactly what you do. You always bring it. You're beyond average yourself. You always bring more than anybody else would. I can see that in your approach to life. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You guys could be operating at a 50% Courtney level. You'd still be rocking it. But I think that most inventors are operating at a 1% Courtney level. I mean, like a negative Courtney level. So don't feel, sometimes people use that excuse, oh, but she's such a great speaker and she's got energy and I don't know how that, BS. That's BS. So you don't have to be at 100% Courtney. I'd say 50% or even 25% would probably get you some licensing deals. I've never, it's like a battery level on a phone.
I love that.
100% Courtney level, 50%. So I want to thank you, Courtney. I want to thank everybody for attending. We'll catch up with you guys next month. I want to thank Courtney for being a trooper, since our speaker had a last minute emergency, family emergency, and then Courtney filled in. Thank you so much, Courtney, and remind everybody to take care and keep inventing. See you guys.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful night.